It comes as the PM has unveiled the biggest expansion for the Defence Force in 40 years. The ADF is set to grow to more than 100,000 personnel by 2040 in the face of increasing strategic threats in our region. Live to Trudy McIntosh. Trudy, big pledge. Take us through the details.
Well, Tom, it amounts to a 30% expansion of ADF personnel by 2040, so that's 18 years away. It'd be a big feat if the current government's still there to actually follow through on this promise. Labor broadly bipartisan on this issue, supporting the need for more troops as we see continual instability in our region. In terms of the specific numbers, around 60,000 ADF personnel at the moment. That's going to be expanded to around 80,000 by 2040. When you add in the civilian numbers, they are touting this as 100,000 people working in defence by 2040. The election is the crucial backdrop for this announcement, though. There's no doubt the Prime Minister keen to keep the focus on national security. He believes this is an area where the coalition has a better record than Labor and one that it is willing to tout publicly. Take a look at Scott Morrison today, whacking Labor here on its defence spending record.
Now, when you think about it, with a Defence Force annual budget of just over $40 billion, it would be a quarter less than it is today if we stuck with what Labor thought was the commitment to defence that was necessary in peacetime. That's not a false gap. That's a real gap. That's a yawning gap. That's a chasm.
Labor appears to want to keep the focus on the future here, pointing to what it will do if it is elected at this campaign. This is Anthony Albanese, part of the speech that will be given at the Lowy Institute later this hour. He is committing to this 2% and beyond benchmark for GDP. It won't stop this debate from happening, Tom, but Labor is certainly trying to neutralise this as much as possible as one of those wedge issues heading into the campaign.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call. Trudy, the PM, meanwhile, shifting his focus from defence to the flood recovery in Queensland. What's been the reaction on the streets so far?
Well, Tom, we have seen a street walk from the Prime Minister today with the cameras in tow. He was in the suburb of Milton in Queensland. It's on the Brisbane River. It was one of those areas hardest hit by the flooding. He took the cameras with him this time. Yesterday, he told the press pack in Lismore that people don't want cameras shoved in their face. But today, we were there on hand to see him meet, in particular with business owners who have been hit hard, really, and are struggling to figure out how they're actually going to rebuild. He spoke with one during the time that the cameras were there, who provided some pretty frank feedback to the PM and said they need more support.
Somehow we've been excluded from this package because we're property owners as well as the business owners. So we can plan the business, but who's going to help us? How can we recover and restore?
I mean, talking further to the Queensland Premier this afternoon, we've put the first round of support in, and so we'll hopefully that's one of the reasons I'm here, is to understand what those other needs are, and we'll make sure we work that into our planning, and Trevor in particular.
I've already promised.
He's got a long list, I can assure you.
And one last comment: is it possible to hand over the flood mitigation and dumps control to professionals?
We certainly believe that the way you manage those sort of things should be guided by that technical and scientific advice, and that's how it should be happening. That's the way it should. Anyway, I appreciate your feedback. Good on you.
The Prime Minister has indicated today he is willing to increase assistance for flood victims. Yesterday, there was some controversy because only 3 local government areas surrounding Lismore received access to this additional flood disaster payments. Other areas, including Ballina and the Tweed region in northern New South Wales, weren't included. There's been calls by Labor that they should. The PM spoke to the Mayor, Tom, and he seems to indicate that they're willing to re-look at this, look at the need on the ground and provide these payments to other people.
Yeah, I suspect we'll see a few more council areas, Trudy, particularly once the scale of the damage becomes clear. Thank you.